Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Lower Macungie Township Board of Commissioners Workshop to order. If we could all stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. I was able to keep my place. That's good. Okay, we're going to jump right in here. Item number 2, a review resolution and minor subdivision plan for 2024 Elbow Lane, Cesar and Ramona Martinez.
Good. All right. Yeah, sure. Renee will put the plan up, or Bruce put the plan up here for you real quick. I promised it might be brief this evening. So, all good. Yeah, it should be under. Oh, she probably already has it up. Yep, there you go. Okay, so this is a minor subdivision plan. We're going to be seeing a lot of these in the future. We're all used to it. The gentleman, Mr. Ramirez, already owns. Yeah. He already owns the single family home with the pool there on the north side. He's making a lot too, that he's going to sell to his son, and they're going to build a house off of it. They were doing perk tests and whatnot with the original intent of having a system out there for the new home. However, they've decided they're going to run the line down. It is a flag lot that goes down into the neighborhood next door there. So while Mr. Ramirez has an access easement to go off on the northern end of his property, where the driveway runs through, yep, Bruce, over there to the right. The new dwelling will go down the flag lot end. And so that driveway will go out onto Hess Circle. There'll be water and sewer service for the single family home. We won't have to worry about an on-lot system there, and it doesn't get much easier than that. So happy to answer any other questions that you might have. As far as we're concerned, we were waiting on how they wanted to handle septic, and when they tied into the public line, we're good. So minor subdivision, no big deal.
Anything from an engineering perspective, Mr. McAdams?
No, Mr. President, I have nothing to add. It is as simple as it gets. Just simple 2-lot subdivision. Nothing, no construction proposed at this time. Couple of minor drafting things in our review that would need to get cleaned up prior to recording the plan, but really nothing of major concern with this project rather.
Okay. Any questions for the engineer or planner from the board? Anything from the public? Didn't think so. Okay, super. Moving on, item 3, review proposed key codes fee schedule for 2024.
I have that one also. Just so the board is aware, the proposed fee schedule for 2024 is essentially the same. We're keeping the same level of service. There's a minor increase and change in the fee schedule for the solar photovoltaic and wind turbine alternative energy installation. Vince has a note here. Basically, they're including some of the electrical, and basically it's just to cover their internal costs. So the ground mounted is going up to 425 for the first 5 kilowatts, and the roof mounted is 325 for the first 5 kilowatts. But basically that just covers their cost for their inspection of the installation for both the electrical and then the structural onto the side of the home or into the ground for each. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same for 2024.
And we wanted to just bring this to the board's attention. You may or may not be aware, we do have a current agreement with Key Codes. It allows us to execute an additional option year for 2024. Would like to do that as a staff. Vince is, very positive about their work that they're doing with us. That renewal just kind of automatically goes unless we give them a notice. We wanted to bring it back before the board before we got into budget time, and we were hitting towards the end of the year. So unless the board would want to go out and RFP services for this inspection, we just wanted to get that on your radar as well. We would recommend to stay with Key Codes and execute the option with the additional changes in these photovoltaic and solar systems. So
Yeah, I'll just second that. We're very satisfied with their continued service for the township, and given the number of larger commercial developments we have in the pipeline, continuing the continuity of service will be good for the department.
Is 2024 the last year of being able to roll it over?
It is,
So we'll have to go ahead and do it next year.
correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for either Mr. Vital or the planner? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to item 4. Review draft resolution transferring American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA funds in the 2023 budget. Mr. Vital.
Thank you. You'll see before you, this resolution prepared by the finance department. Just a little background, the township, is in receipt and has received over the last, several years, our allotment of this, rescue plan dollars. You'll notice on our financial statements posted on the website monthly, as well as our annual budget. We do have a federal grants fund that we've shown in our budget. Part of that fund this year was the transfer a little over $2,400,000 into the capital budget. So this just reaffirms that component of the transfer. You'll also notice in the 2022 budget that the general fund did transfer $1,015,000 to the capital projects fund. Part of that transfer was supposed to be a fund transfer from the federal grants fund to the general fund. We waited as a staff. So when you do in excess of, I think it's 750,000 now of federal grant money, that requires a single audit. The single audit, of course, costs more money. So instead of doing 2 single audits, one for 2022 and one for 2023, we held off on making that transfer from the entitlement fund to that general fund last year. This addresses that now with the transfer. And then in essence at the end of the year, once this transfer happens, it'll end the federal grants fund that you see in the financial statements. And then the budget moving forward would not have that fund to review. So
the net result is going to be 2 million going into the capital projects and 1 million going into the general fund.
that's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Vital? Okay, thank you very much. Item 5, review intermunicipal sewer agreement with Upper Macungie Township and LCA for Trexlertown bypass project.
So I wanted to bring this in front of the board just so you could start to get familiar with the agreement that we've worked to draft with legal in Upper Macungie as well as LCA. This agreement, it covers the proposed bypass interceptor out of the pretreatment plant that will, go into the line of Upper Macungies that runs on our border from the top of Mill Creek down to the bottom of Mill Creek, where the metering station is, that goes into the Spring Creek, the Western Lehigh Spring Creek interceptor that the authority owns. We wanted you to see the draft to make sure that you were fairly comfortable. We've circulated it to the Lehigh County Authority for their comments. We are waiting upper and lower for any additional comments or things we would need to address. I would note, that's why it's also important to get some feedback now. You will see the provision in there for the payment of approximately $160,000 from this township to Upper Macungie Township for some line improvements. They are, if you would see it on the map, right by the middle school, Lower Macungie Road and Mill Creek. There is a portion of the line that kind of goes up and doglegs in a direction. From the engineering review on the upper side, they believe that straightening that dogleg out will allow for more flow. That's important to us as parts of Hamilton Boulevard, Shepherd Hills, some of the things in the lower Macungie Road area flow into that line. So we've been asked to participate since we have a current and existing agreement with Upper to make those improvements. So I wanted to make sure everybody felt comfortable with that. We will reflect that in our budget moving forward for 24. That project's actually in design. They're going to complete that, whether the authority chooses to move forward with the bypass interceptor out of the pretreatment plant. Even if they would choose not to go, we would have to do some cost sharing and participation. So want to make sure you're comfortable. We're not quite there yet. Didn't want to spring it on you super quick and not have time for feedback. So if you have any, whether tonight or the next month or so, just let me know. Want to make sure we're in the right direction.
Questions for Mr. Bike?
Okay, one question I had was, where did the 160,000 come?
Yeah, that's 50% of the approximate amount for the Upper Macungie. Yeah, the estimate for that.
Okay, and just a typo that in the first paragraph where it defines the Trexlertown bottleneck, it should be upper rather than lower.
Okay. Yep. We'll make that adjustment. Appreciate that.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, Item 6, review amendment to the fee schedule.
This is a very basic amendment. You'll see, we had this discussion at length about pickleball use in the community center on the pickleball courts there. It was the recommendation, of course, of staff and supported by the board that we raise that non-resident pickleball rate to a significant amount for all of the potential use and logistics of having non-residents use the court. We've noticed in the last half a year that we were fairly impacted in a negative way. Attendance was down. So we wanted to bring that back to the board and just see if we could go back to the $10 non-resident fee just to see if things would pick up again. We think it'll make us a little more competitive and, drive up some rents, hopefully. So didn't know what your thoughts were on it. We definitely going into it want to make sure that non-residents aren't receiving some subsidized, township facilities usage, but it might be in our best interest to potentially move that down. So didn't know what everybody's feelings were. So
$10 is better than nothing.
could be. Potentially.
Thoughts, Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Rob?
I'd say we drop it down. Drop it down to $10.
Yeah, I don't have any problem.
And we see a major increase, maybe,
What's the difference?
or in the winter, just raise the rates.
Okay. And we could always wait until we do the fee adjustment for the beginning of the year too. So we could let the fall kind of play out and see where we are and get some feedback and see, once the weather changes here, if it's good or bad for us.
Last winter wasn't super harsh winter where, we didn't get an inch of snow like the entire winter. So I'd be curious to see how that affects.
And we're gonna have the outdoor ones.
Yeah.
This year as well.
Okay.
Hopefully not again. Julie? Yeah, could do that.
That's a good idea.
Okay. So we can,
Well-
we can look at that in the budget process as we set rates for 2024.
Yeah, definitely.
Either change them or as recommended, go to like the summer, winter. rate.
Okay. And we'll make sure we have a little bit of a breakdown. We'll show you what kind of signups we're running here in the fall once weather changes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7, review small flow treatment facility operation and maintenance agreement for 8278 Mertztown Road.
Yes, members of the board, I got this one for you as well. So out on Mertztown Road, a little bit past Creamery Park, we have a residence out there where they are looking to do a individual small flow treatment facility. So it's basically their own minor, small, private waste sewer treatment facility. And in order to do that, in order for them to submit for their DEP forms, we need to have this operations and maintenance agreement that they recognize that they're going to be responsible for it, and the township is going to hold them and their owners in succession for responsibility for it moving forward in perpetuity. Basically, once we get this set, then we would be able to go for allocation with DEP, or these residents would be able to go for allocation with DEP. So this is really just a procedural thing with the state before they do any allocation, and before we have a level of comfort of it as well on the municipal side, and make sure that they sign on to this agreement to take care of the system. So it's a rare thing. Doesn't happen often, but my understanding is with this lot, it was there were issues with it perking. So this is why they're going to do this type of a system instead of a traditional or a sand mound type of system.
And I would note, we had, I believe it was this one, during the open comment period, we had, I think it was one response back, urging the board in the comment period not to allow this facility. Of course, they were from Montgomery County. However, we advertised it as required in the paper of general circulation. So we did receive that comment on the original part of the process. Just wanted to put that back out again now.
Okay, questions?
Yeah. First question is, why can't they just put in the septic?
I believe that there were challenges at the site, Commissioner. Its proximity to the creek and whatever's going on in the soils there.
Okay, and the other question is, when Jandal was in for improvements for his 400 home development, we had talked about potentially people in that area being able to connect into his pump station or something. And so would that be an option?
I'm looking right now. I actually think that there might be a distance issue there because
Huh?
I think there may be a distance issue there.
Distance?
I'm looking on the map right now. Just give me a moment, but I don't believe it is like an immediately convenient connection point for that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm looking at the map as well, if I may. And the Jandal's running the force main in the open space behind this particular parcel. I'm not sure that they could get something. I don't think they could make it work.
It's a creek crossing issue,
Yeah.
actually, Commissioner and Brian. They would have to go under because they're on the north side of the creek and the force line runs on the south side of the creek.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems like it's a whole lot for not much. Going to be a very costly system.
Yeah, but I imagine also running the pipe underneath the creek to get to the force main and all the permitting that would go with that's going to be pretty expensive as well. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on. Item number 8, review T160 applications for traffic signal changes at 5 intersections to modernize pedestrian equipment.
After our previous discussions about the Hamilton Boulevard T160s, we kind of said that we would bring all T160s back to the board for approval, so that the board could see and also authorize various work projects where traffic signal plans through PennDOT have to be amended or updated. This is actually a PennDOT project that they had started exploring in the fall of 2022. With that, there's various intersections that they would like to complete pedestrian updates to, which would include the actual pedestals plus some LED lighting plus the push buttons on those 5 that they've identified in the township. They are at Brookside and Sauerkraut, Hamilton and Shepherd Lane, Lower Macungie and East Texas, Lower Macungie and Wild Cherry. There is no cost to the township at this point for these intersections and the upgrades. It is necessary that we consider and approve the plans prior to them issuing and doing the work. So what you have before you this evening, if it's the will of the board, we'll have this on the agenda for the first meeting in September. They actually needed them sooner rather than later, but I told them that we would discuss it at a workshop and then have that component of a vote. So not a township project, however, affects the traffic signals that we must do the upgrades, take care of any repairs to this upgraded equipment. So we should be mindful of that component.
But so there is no cost for this work. It is a PennDOT project that PennDOT initiated, and we just have to sign it as the owner.
Correct. We're still the permittee for all the traffic lights through PennDOT.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, item 9, review requests from Emmaus High School for use of Camp Olympic Park for cross-country team.
Yes, we've been approached by the school district to allow them to host a cross-country meet at Camp Olympic. They did actually hold one last year. They hadn't held one for a while. As I understand it, it was positively received, and there was no issues. So they once again asked us to see if they could do that for that event. We will make sure that there are appropriate facilities, including bathrooms and or porta johns there that would be necessary for the event, and we'll make sure that the school would provide any of those if it was necessary. But it's our recommendation as a staff that we allow the school to use the park and have their event.
Questions? The only one I have is, are we aware, is there any issue with their course and the future ongoing construction of the turnpike?
There is actually, and it's not even the future ongoing construction. It's the current bridge painting project. Normally they go underneath the bridge and over to the western component of the camp. However, that bridge project was supposed to be completed within 90 days. We're hearing that it might take an extended period, and Stan has been working with the school to kind of let them know what the route course might be, just in case we're not allowed to utilize that under area to give them some extra running. So at this point, it is affected. We're hopeful that they'll be in and out of there with the painting project, but we're already trying to think of some alternatives.
Are they gonna be using any facilities or just the property?
Just the property. We open the bathhouses, but they need, for us, we have to make sure I don't want to say we're kind of giving up a rental, but for them to stage all the buses in there, that takes our parking, and basically that closes down the park for the day. So, but they just use
How
the,
many meets to begin with in terms of like where you have a lot of buses?
right. Yeah, they just do the bathhouse, and then that day it kind of packs up a little
As a
bit.
matter, for the longest time, that was the plan when Camp Olympic was purchased. But I know that they didn't hold meets there for a long time because of the lack of access for buses. Are we confident that they're actually having meets there now, or is it just for practice?
This is one meet, and it's their big meet. They do practice there now.
Yeah.
And they run the course. They're very happy and appreciative of having that course, but this is for, they used to take their meet one other place, and now last year, since it worked, they're looking to have that regional meet again. So that's
October 3rd from 2 to 7.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
it's a great course. Bud Coates, mapped it out. And he is, Mr. Runner's World. So if you're going to have somebody lay out a course, he's the one you want laying that course.
A lot better than running on the streets in the mail.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, these.
so the camp on the bathhouse, as I understand it, that connects into the sewer line, but I'll confirm.
Wondering if it is a big event, maybe they stage some porta potties. Maybe should require them
Yeah.
instead of, especially with sunset.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. And especially if they have regional, if it's a regional event, they have
Find
a
out
lot
how
of
many
runners.
they're expecting in terms of teams and numbers.
Okay.
Probably
That's
the
good feedback.
Okay, item 10, manager updates. 10.1, Sauerkraut Lane Extension.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief.
It's on here forever and ever.
It is, and I like to always give the update, even if it's not a lot, so that our friends in Albertus Borough can hear the progress and be informed as well. We're basically working on the punch list now for the Spring Creek to Quarry Road section. They did install some fence for the pedestrian, I call them chutes, to go across the tracks. Those went in this week, working on some follow-up stuff for there. We're also coordinating with the contractor of the new facility, that construction that's happening over there, with how we can appropriately give them access, since the township hasn't been able to have the official rail crossing yet. The other crossings have to be extinguished. We'll work with legal, but just wanted to let the board know that that's where we are. That's the update. We'll probably have to winterize manholes and storm drains for the winter. We don't anticipate having the top coat on there at this point in time by the end of the year. So
And what is the latest date for construction of the final leg?
we hear 14 months. That's what we continue to hear. So 14 months from now.
A moving 14 months?
A moving 14 months. They are working, as we gave them the update last month. They are still working to get some clear bank releases for some of the right-of-way properties at 100 and Sauerkraut.
Well, I guess that's progress, because it used to be a rolling 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's only been 10 years. It's not, we're in no rush.
Well, except for the left turn lane on
Yeah,
100.
That's
is
been a
over
lot
20.
longer, yeah.
So that's the update on the extension. We'll keep everybody posted. I know it's a hot button issue, said with the borough.
Moves slow. I don't know what. Yeah. Okay, 10.2, Church Street Bridge, meeting with PUC, National Rail Safety, PennDOT, and Albertus Borough.
Yeah, so we did, we were welcome to a meeting at the borough to discuss various crossings with Norfolk Southern, as well as the National Rail Safety Administration. The township was approached by the National Rail Safety Group, as well as the PUC, to see if we would consider closing and permanently removing the Church Street bridge. With that, I told them that we would be open to considering any kind of offers that they would make with that. So we did have a follow-up meeting with the borough, representatives from the PUC, from PennDOT, from National Rail, from Norfolk Southern, to discuss the potential for crossings. That group would like to see one of the crossings in Albertus close. The one on, I think it's West Penn Street, West Penn Avenue. The borough, of course, has concerns that they would like to see Church Street remain open so the traffic can go that way. When we presented to all the individuals in the room that Shonik was right down the road and it's 3/10 of a mile, and that bridge is brand new, basically, that there were alternatives. They were, satisfied that would be an appropriate detour. Like I said, the borough is not quite, of that mindset. So we would be offered, if just Church Street closed, we would be offered $40,000 from Norfolk Southern to pay for the costs associated with abandoning that crossing. If both crossings closed, the one in Albertus and in Lower Macungie, that offer would go closer to about $95,000. That would include some PennDOT monies to, do some work over there that would be required. So wanted to just put that back in front of the board. The process to do an abandonment is basically a form, I believe. The PUC would work to have a hearing to see if anybody would be opposed to that. They would support the extinguishment of the crossing, as well as the federal rail safety. So it would be basically paperwork to move forward. and then an agreement with the railroad to extinguish it. So wanted to bring that before the board just to give you an update on where we are. We kind of left it that there would be some follow-up. There hasn't been yet at this point with the rest of those groups. So
My concern would be the cost of removing the bridge. And also you get into having a end to Church Street. And that would probably be in the borough. And so without cooperation of the borough, that could be rather interesting as well.
yeah, as I understand it, there's a potential developer looking to do some development down on the Alberta side. So that would probably be a good way for them to terminate that side of the road. We also expressed to those parties the cost of removing the bridge, as well as the potential if half of that bridge from just my layperson's view of looking at the county mapping, half of the bridge actually is in the railroad right of way. And when I said that we wouldn't want to be working in their rail right of way next to their tracks and you could demo the bridge for us, there was kind of some, they wanted to go back and do more research to see where the bridge actually was located as in relation to their right of way. I also asked Brian to maybe have his group out for the price of a survey for us, just to know where we are for the $1,200 or $1,500. Just get it surveyed. We'll know where the bridge sits, and I can go back to them and say, most of it's in the rail right of way. Any work in the rail right of way, they actually perform. So when I ask about the bridge, they're gonna take that back to their team a little bit. So
Could we not just put up Jersey barriers so people can't get through?
we could. That would be one of the requirements, and they do like chevron reflectors as well. That's how you could technically terminate the road.
But the bridge doesn't work right?
Correct. The bridge has been closed. There's a hole in the bridge. It's structurally deficient and will fall down. So
Right.
it's either replace the bridge totally
Right.
or
I
tear it
think
down.
we'd be much more in favor of removing the bridge as
Right.
opposed to replacing it. The cost might be a little different.
And to the extent that you can get somebody else to do it,
Yeah, that's even better.
do it.
And just for the board's knowledge, we have been hearing a lot on our social media presence as well as some calls to the township about a lot from Alberta's residents and for some located down in the hills about how that bridge is needed. So wanted to make sure I pass on those concerns that we hear to that, to the board. I'd always recommend that we're more than happy to give that part of the roadway to the borough and they can feel free to put the bridge in if they would like and maintain it. So
So we will leave it in your hands to negotiate it with all the other interested parties.
all right, we'll get more information for everybody and see where we go.
While we're on the topic of bridges, quickly, Willow South on that bridge, there's a pretty good crater opening up on the south side. I know it's not township, but just an FYI.
Sorry, we can notify PennDOT.
Second,
Yeah. And anything going on or planned for Church Lane Bridge?
We're still working through that.
Listen, what I'm gonna tell you, it's been open longer than I think it's ever been open in the time I've lived here, but I was on it yesterday. There were a couple of concerns.
We have some boards that we had to replace. They are on our list to go out. I think they did one already. But that we actually had in the budget to go and do some reinforcing, still working through some rail engineering on how we can do that. And the question that was always posed of, does it have to stay a wooden bridge forever? Could there be other components? We haven't heard anything to say that it can't be modified with some supports. So we're still working through that component. We think probably next year we should be able to get through that and initial outreaches to Norfolk Southern AECom, which is their engineer, seem promising. So we just didn't get it to the actual upfitting this year like we wanted to. So still bogged down a little bit.
well, years ago,
Yeah.
replaced, that was always a holdup.
Right.
Finding a piece of timber that big. And, speaking of that bridge, I know I brought it up before that, right turn only when you exit Giant there. That's still, we were gonna look into
Yeah, we
that.
talked about taking out the pork chop.
We did, and I just didn't get to it.
Because we're shooting traffic
Mhm.
for the people that listen.
Right.
90%.
Don't, yeah.
They make the left turn.
I will not admit, nor not will I deny that I actually make a left.
Oh, I'll admit it. I make the left turn all the time.
A left turn out of there is the only direction I
Yeah.
turn.
Ah,
But I mean, not only are we beating the bridge up,
Right.
creating a hazard, or 9 out of 10 cars making a left. It's designed to make a right and you can't see.
Yeah, Ms. Flexer did pull all those files for me. I just have to get moving forward on it. So that's on this guy right here. She did pull all the files. So I will make sure that we get that addressed here. It's on my list.
Bruce, I have a question also.
Yep.
You mentioned the West Penn Avenue crossing.
Correct.
So that's the road that goes past Drizzle.
Yes.
Okay, and they're talking about possibly closing that.
Correct.
Okay,
That is it's an area that the PUC and National Rail have identified as potential for safety issues or concerns.
all right.
I don't want to speak
I
for
can
the
see that.
borough, but that's just what I heard at a meeting in passing. So
Understood.
Okay, item 10.3, resident concerns for that paint fume smell.
yeah, we're just leaving it on the agenda for now. Still working on that. So didn't want to forget about it.
Good.
And then we're also, just some updates, we're still reviewing the scenic view traffic concern that we heard. And the engineering still working on the McCungy Road stormwater where we had residents at the meeting. So both of those are still in process. Just want to keep it on there and keep it alive. So
I have one thing for the planner, actually. As they're moving rather rapidly with the new hospital, have we had any correspondence with the neighbors behind in terms of, are they meeting their burden for what they're supposed to be replacing, fixing, changing as a barrier?
So, the good news is we have not had a lot of outreach in terms of concerns or complaints. We did hear from the one resident, who had come to the hearing originally earlier in the summer, while plantings were being done. There was also a concern again about some overgrowth that was there. I should note, I've been out there and inspected it myself earlier in the summer and then more recently. They've removed the fence that separates what would have separated the bulk of the hospital property from this landscaping they put in, so that it's much more visible. So they will be going in to be doing maintenance much more frequently now. It's per the plan. The township engineer and RLA have been there. They've said that it's per plan. So quite frankly, so long as, and with the rain we're getting, as long as nothing dies, they are meeting exactly what they should be meeting. And then we had a discussion with Boyle Construction with respect to the two-way film that was required on the windows as well, to make sure that privacy was taken care of, and that's on order as well. So actually, everything is going quite well. And our offices have noted for all those residents, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're seeing issues, please contact us immediately. So they know to reach out if anything happens.
Right, and there's also the welcome to Lower McCungy compromise.
Yeah, the Welcome to Lower McCungy Compromise. We've been working with the sign company for that sign. That sign is under permitting right now. That will be on the easterly side of the entrance driveway, and then their main, I guess you would say, monument sign, which also now has an LED component to it, will be on the opposite side of the entrance driveway.
And then I guess I just noticed it tonight for the first time. I've been away for a little bit. They went like full nuclear on Wawa on Route 100 for gas replacement, huh?
They did. So we noticed, or I myself noticed that when the first tank was coming out, I did check with our building code official, Mr. Trangucci. He did note that there was permits in place for all that. They did need to do a replacement. So it's the large tank replacement project that's happening there, and then the tanks will open up again.
But like if you go there right now, everything's gone. All of the pumps, there's huge holes in the ground. Like it only started with the one tank. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
they're gonna do one side.
Complete
Until
replacement.
today, it was like, whoa, like you can't drive around anymore. Like you have to go out.
It's all gated out.
Yeah, you have to go out one way or another. You can't really
Yep. I was there today myself and, you know, everything's gated off. They do have their permits and I guess they're doing a full upgrade,
Yeah.
full replacement. So.
Not that old. Very interesting. Okay.
Can I just have one more thing too? Cause just, I wanted to give an update on, just so there's no confusion. So we talked about the T-160 forms for the pedestrian project. That's the PennDOT project. We also are going to have before the board at some point, T-160s for, upgrades at various lights for the firemen, for the preemption devices, Cedar Crest. There's a couple other ones. So going to bring those before the board. It's necessary that we update those ones too. There's some up by, I think, Hamilton and the bypass. So there'll be a set for that. And then there'll be another set for the grant funded 3 intersections by Cressler and Hamilton, Cressler and the bypass. There'll be another set of T-160. So you'll see before you the PennDOT project, you'll see the preemption. We're reviewing that now. We have those updated permits, awaiting my signature. And then we'll have that other component for the grant one. So just to let everybody know what's going on with that project. It's confusing because we got a lot of T-160s floating around at this point. Sorry.
Any public comment on agenda topics? All right. I will report just for everybody here. I did attend the opening of the Hillside School today to celebrate their 40th anniversary. It was an event held by the Chamber. It was very nice. It was well attended. There were a bunch of school children there. It happened early enough that it didn't interrupt their day, but really remarkable what they do there. The new headmaster actually read a post that he found on Facebook that said this mother had a daughter who went there from 4th to 8th grade. She was failing 3rd grade when she went there. She's now a junior in public high school with an above 4.0 average in honors classes because they helped her with her dyslexia that she had that was undiagnosed at the time that she got to the Hillside schools. So for those that don't understand what that school is or what they do, it really is a remarkable place. So I was happy to be there this morning and present them with a proclamation, as well as to congratulate them on 40 wonderful years and being an important part of our community. So, okay. And yes. Oh. Okay, David, do you have anything? I mean, you're technically on vacation, so I don't want to make you talk because that's like billable hours.
Is Bruce really still banging that drum? My God.
Okay.
No, I do not have anything.
And then with that, we are adjourned.
Take care.
Nice, tidy work.
Good night, all.
Good night, Brian.